What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 73 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms, what we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read on the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or just hit us up at ReadyPressPlay on Twitter or TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is June 4th, 2021, and I'm your host, Louis Menchaca, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Daniel Lima.
What is up, Lewis? We are like a week away from E3 right now. I'm starting to feel the hype in the air. We're finally going to have a traditional E3 again. Well, traditional in quotes, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's going to be a digital only E3, but it's going to be an E3. We're going to have an E3 weekend, which we didn't really have last year. And I'm excited. Lots of conferences, things happening within 2, 3, 4 day span. And I'm excited to just kind of lay in my couch and consume it all and watch it all and get excited for video games that are coming out that I'm probably gonna not play. But
And that I'll probably buy but not play as well. But it's kind of interesting is like I actually don't even really feel like it's E3. Like it just doesn't seem like it doesn't feel tangible. Like usually when it comes to E3, I'm like super excited and like
Mhm.
counting down the days. This time I'm just kind of like, oh, it's here. It's like it just sort of like kind of like snuck up on me, which is kind of weird for me in my playbook.
I feel like it's a consequence of the whole pandemic situation and work from home and all this stuff. The scenario that we found ourselves in as this E3 rolls around, which was kind of similar to last year. And I feel like last year, I don't know, there was something last year where like the unknown felt kind of interesting as well.
Yes.
Versus this year it's like it's kind of this return to normal but not really, which is it's the reality with a lot of different aspects in life right now. Like, oh, we're returning to normal but not really. It's just like just quiet. It's like we're living somewhere in between. Like last year we would have been in the thick of this new unknown thing, and now we're in the process of going back to how things were before but not quite there yet, right?
Or even more
um
so, like we're not even in like E3 leak week or whatever. You know what I mean? We're like that kind of
yeah.
like speculatory thing. I feel like it's not quite
you
hitting
know
that crescendo.
I saw something about, or this is might have been just as typically too, and I heard journalists talk about how there's not a lot of stuff leaking this year leading up to E3 as opposed to previous years, and they theorize that that's because there's not as many situations where developers find themselves on the street now. Like there's no people are not traveling as much. People are not sitting at a Starbucks working on the next Call of Duty in their laptop or anything like that. They theorize that that's maybe partially why we're not many leaks. Everybody's just kind of shut in, like working on the games they're working on in their own houses. But stuff could still leak, and we have seen stuff leak anyway during the time frame.
Well, yeah,
But I
like
thought it was like,
it's not a physical convention center either, so you're not seeing a situation where like banners are being like hung up and you it's like people taking
yeah,
pictures of it, or even like that Tomb Raider leak where somebody was working on a PowerPoint presentation while on an airplane and somebody like behind him just snuck a picture and stuff like that.
hmm
So yeah, that's kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, we speaking of E3 week and everything like that, we'll go ahead and do some quick housekeeping. So we're going to be doing our E3 prediction special next week. So I believe next week is going to be essentially a DLC episode. It's going to be topic of the show, the show. So I think that's kind of what it is. I don't know.
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, we've been doing these shows for the last few weeks that have been very topic focused because there hasn't been too many big news stories that Lewis and I are excited to talk about. I have a feeling this will just be another one of those weeks leading up to E3. There might be some leaks, there might be some things like that, but if there is any huge story, if the Switch Pro gets revealed, this weekend somehow, then we might figure out a way to work that into the if we if we pre-record something and then something like that happens, we might record a segment in the middle of it or something like that. But I believe that we'll be fine with doing a topic only DLC episode next week, and then the week after that we'll come back to go through all the E3 stories. Any small thing we missed that happens within the next few days we'll include on that.
And then, of course, the other thing is that before E3 special, next Friday on our usual posting, is we're going to be doing on Wednesday, and It Takes Two spoiler cast. We'll finally post. We've been working on it for so long, just powering through that week after week after week until we finally beat the game last week. So, or wait, was it just this? Was it just Sunday or was it the Sunday before? I don't remember. I can't. Time is really
Yeah,
weird.
we beat it last Sunday, so 4 days ago.
Wow, doesn't even
Yeah.
feel. It feels like it was already been a week already, just because of how my time, my perspective on time is. But yeah, we'll be doing the spoiler cast basically essentially a week right after. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And I think that's it for housekeeping, right?
Yeah. I would just mention that because we finished It Takes Two, we're probably not going to be streaming anything yet right away. Louis and I might start planning something for some other game that we might start streaming soon. But as of now, no streams on Sundays.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let you guys know once we know. So,
Yeah.
um, as far as the E3 stuff, Dan and I were debating whether or not to be doing that thing where we do pre and post shows and stuff like that. But then we decided to be lazy fat asses instead. So I think that's probably the better way to do it. So
Yeah. Let's be honest. There will be a shit ton of content out there about E3 anyway. I figured, we could work our asses off over the weekend, and we have full time jobs, but we're not like these full time content creators out there. So we could work our asses off over the weekend to try to get you guys all this stuff while like also having your full time jobs during the week, and that would probably be, a very like respectable thing to do. Like I would look up to people that did that, but fuck it.
yeah, level one gaming's got you anyways. Among other
Yeah, there
people.
we go. Shout
Yeah.
out to Level One Gaming. I bet they're going to be doing a lot of stuff. You can find our podcast in video form in the Level One Gaming channel. These guys are great, guys and gals, and I'm sure that they're going to be doing plenty of awesome content for E3 week, right?
Yep, exactly. I know
Hmm.
they've been already prepping the writers to make sure to get ready to pump out some articles. I'll probably be a part
Hmm.
of that too. So, in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and move on to our returning segment. It's our monthly segment. When I think of like sound effects and stuff like that, usually like sound effects kind of sort of like kind of pump you up. This is like the most low key like sound effect that we can have. Yeah. But
If we could,
anyways,
if we could think of a better like sound effect that represented time, we could switch it. That was the first thing that came to my mind when I thought, time,
yeah, I
time
know.
machine.
No, no, that's fine. It's fine. I like it. I mean, it is called Temple of Time. Why not use the Temple of Time music? So yeah, name of the segment, Temple of Time, where we go back and talk about all the anniversaries in gaming from 5 years to potentially 50 years if there is something to talk about. Except it wasn't until November and December of 50 years ago that something actually came out. So we're not going to even be covering 50 years until then. In the meantime, let's go ahead and hit up 5 years and see what we got going on here. So for the 5 year mark here, we have Pool Nation VR for the HTC Vive. Then there's a Guilty Gear like X third, like a 10 third. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It's like a re-release called Revelator for the PS3 and PS4. There's Mirror's Edge Catalyst for PC, PS4, Xbox One, Odin Sphere, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but it's basically a remake of the PS2 game that came out for the PS3, PS4, and Vita. And then there is Steam World Heist HD for PC, Mac, PS4, Vita. Okay, here we go. Kirby Planet Robobot for the 3DS. I remember that game. Dan, what do you have to say about that? I know
I
you
never
have.
played that game.
You bastard.
Actually, I know that it exists. It's actually in my list. I have this like collection, a huge list of games that I'm like, well, like if I had all games I wanted for the 3DS, these are the games, so that I slowly buy them through time, and that is in the list for the 3DS. I heard it's one of the better Kirby games. I mean, as we all know, most of the games are great, but that seems to be amongst like top five, top 10 material from what. Um, so it's in there in the list, but I've never played it at all.
Yeah, I actually I played like the first like level as I usually buy games and just play like the first bit of it, and then I liked what I played, and I think like I even gifted it like another. I bought a second copy and gifted it to my niece back when
Mhm.
she was playing like the 3DS and stuff. So But yeah, it's moving on. Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter for the PC. Trials of the Blood Dragon for the PC, PS4, Xbox One. Dead by Daylight came out on the PC. Now check this out. Mighty Number 9 released under pretty much every console under the sun, from PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and the Wii U. Man, what a letdown that game
That
was.
is insane that that game came out 5 years ago. I feel so recent, and it's funny. I was just having a conversation with somebody about Mighty Number two not too long ago, but we're talking about this idea that it's not that often that you see games that are associated with a creator, with an author, right? Like we have Kojima with the Metal Gear games, and we had Inafune, I think is his name, with
Yep.
the Mega Man. And when Inafune left Capcom, then there was this and when especially when he kickstarted Mighty Number Nine, there was this huge expectation like, oh, now we're gonna get the true, Mega Man successor, spiritual successor. And then it came out and everybody hated it. And meanwhile, different developers, like at Capcom made new Mega Man games related to Inafune, they Mega Man 10. And that actually got a lot more than Mighty Number Nine. So it's one of those interesting, like, when you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of interesting. Like, what makes the game? Is it really the author, or is it the team? Or is it the studio? And a lot of people associate, for instance, Metal Gear with Kojima so strongly. It's almost as if Kojima goes off and he makes Death Stranding, and then if people didn't like that, but then Kojima makes a new Metal Gear game and people love that, right? Sounds out of this world that would be the reality, but that's basically what happened with Mighty Number Nine.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Mega Man 11 is basically better than Mighty Number 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've it's kind of crazy how that happened. I actually met KG Inafune at a convention and got him to
Really?
sign. I got him to sign my copy of Mega Man 2 on the
That's
NES.
cool.
So yeah, he seems like a pretty chill guy. I bumped into him on the show floor before he was at a signing, like the day prior, and I'm like, oh hi, and then nice to
Does he
meet you.
speak English?
No, he had a translator there, but he has a couple of
Mm-hmm.
words. He knew a couple of words. He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and that's about it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like linger on or say anything to him. I just, salutations. Next up, there's Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games for the Wii U, and then
I never played that one, but I played the Wii one.
there's a Wii version of that. What the hell?
No, well, they've been doing those for every Olympics for like 20 years now.
Oh,
I would not 20 years, but they've done it for like 3 or 4 Olympics now, right? So they had I
okay,
think I had 2008. Yeah, it was it the Beijing Olympics in 2008? Yeah, Beijing in 2008, and then they did London in 2012, Rio
okay.
2016, and now Tokyo 2020. So I mean, I played the Wii 2008 Beijing
Oh, okay, okay.
Olympics game, and it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I
Yeah.
mean, the Wii U was starving for exclusives anyway, so.
Yeah.
Then there's also Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, which I actually have that game. I got that game like on Uber discount when it was like being like on clearance. I got it just for the sake of having a rare
Yeah.
collectible game, and
I
then
want to get
Nintendo
that.
fucks me over and puts it on the Switch. But whatever.
Yeah, I actually want to get that game on the Wii U. I want to get the Wii U version of it. And it's not as cheap as you would maybe hope. Even though the Switch version, like, I think you got to spend at least like $25+ to get that game. Anyway, I digress.
Yes. Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now this one has Mighty Number 9 beat here. We got PC, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, Vita, Wii U, 3DS. That's 8 right there.
Damn.
Nice. Inside. Oh my God. Inside came out exclusively on the Xbox One for like a month before releasing somewhere else.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. That was so weird. It was like, oh, like here's a cool like exclusive game for the Xbox One,
And then they're like,
and
psych.
then yeah, it didn't last long at all. The Inside is such a good game though. Like that is up there, like all time one of the all time greats. Gets really weird towards the end,
Oh, yeah.
but it's the kind of game that you beat and then you go talk to people about it like, what do you think that meant? And then it's like the conversation about the game after it is better than the game itself, I think. But the
Yeah,
fact that the game sparks that conversation, obviously, is credit to the game itself. So, really good shit.
yeah. I just like the tumbling and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I have not played Box Boy on the 3DS, but I have played Box Boy. Box Boy is a really good game. I appreciate it. I'm assuming that that's the second game because I think like Box Girl might have been the third or something like that or whatever. Crypt of the Necrodancer Pocket Edition for the iOS or for iPhone.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a Switch game. Like I know we have the Switch game. I thought the Switch game was the first game. So looks like this game's been around for a while.
I believe this was like on a something other platform and it's been ported. Like this is not the first
Mhm.
release of Crypt of the Necrodancer. So for all I know, it could have been a Wii U game. I don't know, but I didn't really bother
Mhm.
looking into it. I just know that this is a port. Um, but yeah,
While you reveal the next set, Louis, I just want to point out that there's a big difference as to how you make the segment versus when I make the segment, even though I only made it like once, which is that you put in almost literally all the games that came out in that month versus I'm like, okay, here's like the five big ones, and then I list them. That's how I did it when I did it. Um,
yeah,
but
that's
let's
true.
keep going.
That's true. I usually try to be very thorough. But I do for the older years and stuff like that. I do tend to weed out.
Hmm.
But yeah, I try to avoid ports. By the way, I do weed out
Hmm.
some ports, but I don't weed out all ports unless they're like major. Like for instance, I'll go ahead and skip to it. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3D came out on the 3DS, so it's a port, but it's
Is it but perhaps the best version of that game, Lewis?
yes,
Would you
I
say
would.
that? Do you think it's safe to say that,
It
right?
is safe to say.
I really wish they would take that version of the game and put it on the somehow, and maybe even do some improvements and some upscaling on that. But that version of the game is just so good. That was before Nintendo got lazy as hell with their remasters. You know what I mean? Like Ocarina of Time 3D and Star Fox 64 3D and Majora's Mask, they were actually putting in the work for those games to make actually improved, pretty versions of their N64 games. Um, anyway, I already talked about this before, but that was the first time I played Ocarina of Time. That was the version of Ocarina of Time that I played, and it's
Yeah.
great.
Plus, I have solid memories of playing the 3DS version of the game
Mm.
than the N64 version. Not to mention that this was at a time when it's like the first months of the 3DS. The 3DS had launched in like February, March, and then
That's true.
and there were like no first party like big exclusives, and this was the first big exclusive like first party Nintendo game. That was like the start of getting the 3DS's momentum sales going. But one of the
Hmm.
things that you guys, if you guys listen to Ready Play Movies, is we do these segments in tandem with each other. And so when we talk about movie releases, there's also what do you call them? Licensed video game releases to coincide with it. And so when you hear a title of a movie like that came out 10 years ago, such as Green Lantern, starring Ryan Reynolds, you could bet your ass there's going to be a licensed game 10 years ago. Green Lantern, Rise of the Manhunters came out for the PS3, 360, Wii, DS, and 3DS. So there you go. You're going to see a bunch of these licensed movies that are like work in tandem with RPM.
I wonder how many people were complaining about the fact that the DS version of Green Lantern was holding back the PS3 version.
That's exactly, that's kind of funny. Is like I always hated the fact that these games share the same exact box art, but they're completely different games.
Yes, yes, I know, right?
All right, Infamous 2 came out for the PS3. There you go. That's a big game right there. I've only played the third Infamous game, which was Infamous Second Son. So, yeah. Let's see. Red Faction, Armageddon, PC, Xbox 360, PS3. Wii Play Motion came out for the Wii. Child of Eden. I believe, isn't that like a big indie game or something? Uh,
I know. I'm thinking of. I keep thinking of Child of Light.
yes.
Um, but Child of Eden, the name sounds familiar, but I don't really know
I looked
much
it
about
up
it.
and I saw the cover art and it looked familiar. Child of Eden came out for the Xbox 360, and then there was the trash ass game called Duke Nukem Forever came out for the
Oh man,
PC.
I remember when that came out. That was the game that was in like development hell forever, and then it came out, and I didn't I wasn't even that familiar with this. at this point, but this was when I was going to college, and it was early when I had just started going to college, and my friends, I remember, got this game and played it. I just remember them talking about how trash it was and how it was so poorly made, and they couldn't understand how this thing had been in development for as it was. You know.
Yeah. Oh man, I just feel like we need a good Duke Nukem game to come out like right now,
Hmm.
just to bring it back and stuff like that. Because like, it's kind of funny. Is like it feels like the video game industry is going away from like that machismo from like those early days. Like Kratos is now mature, and now somebody like Duke Nukem
Hmm.
can't be saying those jokes and stuff. Like when he said a joke one of those at a previous game where he's like, I know what your mom had for breakfast, sausage or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I feel like it could work if done right. And here's the thing: who owns that? I don't know who owns that license. I can't remember
I
right
don't
now,
know.
but I know that Duke Nukem and Doom were like competitors at some point.
Yes.
So how cool would it be? And I have no idea who owns the license, like I said, so I don't know if this would even be possible for id Software to make a Duke Nukem game. They've had so much success with Doom and Doom Eternal, because I bet there's plenty of people that work there that have some level of fondness for those games, that grew up playing Duke Nukem as well as Doom and other similar titles. Um, that would be that would be very interesting. Um, but we can keep going here.
Yeah, it seems like it seems to be owned by just another company, and Gearbox was just a publisher.
Mm.
But anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Yeah, Duke Nukem came out for the PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. Another licensed game, Transformers: Dark of the Moon, came out for 360, PS3, Wii, DS, and 3DS. Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing on iOS. I actually have that game, and I used to play it on my phone. And I said The Legend of Zelda already. And then we got Cars 2, PC, Xbox 360, PS3, Wii, DS, 3DS, and PSP. I have actually seen that game on the DS. It looked kind of fun because it used a touchscreen. Dungeon Siege PC, Xbox 360, and PS3. Fear 3, PC, 360, PS3. And finally, rounding it out, Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D for the 3DS. Yeah. I would say I know the box art for the Resident Evil. Isn't like I could have sworn that that was like one of those games that utilizes the Circle Pad Pro, if I'm not mistaken, because that was
Yeah,
like
I
a
think you're right.
accessory that wasn't really utilized a lot. All right, we'll go ahead and move on.
3DS in May of 2011, and damn, I have a big delay today because we keep talking like on top of each other here. But I remember keeping an eye on that game. Like there were a lot of weird games on the first year of the 3DS. Like, it's, in my opinion, weird games to be on the console, like Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid, and they had RE Revelations as well, and um, interesting. Like, you don't typically associate those kinds of games with a Nintendo handheld, but um,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on to June of 2006. That's 15 years ago. Half-Life 2 Episode 1 came out for the PC. Half-Life 3 still yet to be confirmed, but okay. Cars, the first game, PC, PS2, Xbox, GameCube, DS, and PSP, and Game Boy Advance. Interesting. Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories came out for the PS2. Major League Baseball 2K6 came out for the GameCube. Armored Core Last Raven for the PS2. And Mega Man Battle Network 6 for the Game Boy Advance. Rugrats Go Wild Game Boy Advance. And Tomb Raider Legend on the PSP. I could have sworn that that was like a console game.
I think I might have played. So there is a Tomb Raider game on the Nintendo DS that I played, and I think it might have been that same game because I that name sounds familiar. Um, but anyway, it's not like I remember it that well. Anyway, 15 years is quite a bit of time ago. I actually didn't know that Half Life 2 had come out then. Um, this actually makes me think that I should have played it. I should have played it when it came out, because this was a time frame where most of what I played was on PC. But at this point, I was playing like online MMOs and shit, so it probably didn't cross into my circle
I
at
think
that point. But yeah.
I think going forward, I think the number of releases are going to go down because I think this was at a time when like summer was not a good time to release games for whatever reason. So I don't know.
Yeah. There's also just generally, I mean, the further back you go, there's just generally less games coming out, period.
True,
Right. So,
true. I don't really have a whole lot to say. I mean, I think Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories like got ported to like the Vita or something like that or PSP, and I think it was a hit there as well. Um, but yeah, all right, we'll go ahead and move on to 20 years from now. 20 years ago, we have June of 2001. We have Cast. Okay, the reason why we have so many titles here under this one is because it's the launch of the Game Boy Advance. So Game Boy Advance launched with Castlevania Circle of the Moon, Choo Choo Rocket, F Zero Maximum Velocity, Super Mario Advance, and a couple of others that I just left out. But those are like the ones that I just sort of like put on the list. So yeah, that's the Game Boy Advance launch right there, like the launch lineup. And then we have Atlantis: The Lost Empire came out for the PS1. Twisted Metal Black came out for the PS2. Time Crisis: Project Titan for the PS1. Operation Flashpoint: Cold War Crisis for the PC. Sonic Adventure 2 came out for the Dreamcast after it was already announced to be defunct and discontinued. And Final Fantasy Chronicles, a big all-time classic, Final Fantasy Chronicles, came out for the PS1. So that's a pretty banger month right there.
yeah, plenty of recognizable titles, despite the fact that I never played any of them.
Oh, I mean,
I
Super
just
Mario
gotta be honest.
Advance. Super Mario Advance was just like a port of like I think Super Mario 2 for like the from the Super
Hmm.
Nintendo or the NES. But yeah, everyone always likes the cover art of the PS2 Twisted Metal Black. But yeah, that's funny. That's cool. Also, shout out to F Zero Maximum Velocity. It uses like the same game engine as the Super Nintendo version. All right. So June of 1996 actually fits in one line. So 25 years ago, Last Bronx came out in the arcade. Quake came out on MS DOS, and something called Shining Wisdom came out for the Sega Saturn. That's like
Thought
a
that meant you wrote SAT, right, for Saturn.
yeah.
And for some reason, I was like, why did he put in that that came out on a Saturday? But
As
yeah,
if you
cool.
didn't even realize like what these parentheses means, and you just didn't it didn't click for
I
you.
know. It didn't click for me because I'm dumb.
So yeah,
Oh man.
three things. Nothing. I would say. I mean, I've played Quake 3. I would say like that's Quake. Everyone knows what Quake is. So
Hmm.
at least there you go. Happy that Quake is now. If that's the first release, which I don't even know if it is, Quake is at least 25 years old. All right. 30 years ago, June of 1991, there was only one release of notes that I found. Is on June 23rd. Even said it on the Sonic Direct was that we're celebrating our 30-year anniversary, and here you are. 30 years ago, Sega releases Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis, which later became the pack-in game and defining title for the console. It introduces the eponymous character who would go on to be Sega's mascot. Sega also releases a version of the game for the Master System and the Game Gear. And the Game Gear
I
version was
wanna
trash, by the way.
I wanna ask you something, Lewis. So I feel like I played some Sonic games as a kid, but I don't even know which ones. Or I definitely didn't play them on original hardware because I didn't own any of the Sega consoles, despite the fact that they were popular in Brazil. But I'm pretty sure I played them in like on maybe with emulators or something, or maybe there was some kind of like PC version. My memories of Sonic, like those original Sonic games, are really old though. Like so, it's hard for me to even remember. But I wanted to ask, because with the 30th anniversary, I saw a lot going around on social media, people talking about it, and people asking each other basically, like, is Sonic, do you consider Sonic to be a popular franchise? How popular is it? And I saw this poll that was asking which franchise is more popular, I believe it was asking. Sonic or Zelda? And I want to ask you that question. I want to see your answer to that question.
I think if we're talking only, if we're gonna measure sales, like of like game sales, Sonic, because I
Mhm.
don't think like I looked at the historical sales of like how much a Legend of Zelda game sells. It's really not as much as Mario or anything like that. So I think Ocarina of Time was like the only one that actually has like that big number that's worth talking about. So I would go on to reckon that just because of just sheer volume of titles released, I would go with Sega or Sonic.
Hmm. I think you're right. And then the other, so there's different ways you could look at this, right? Like, so sales. All right, I think Sonic might be ahead there. I think you might have, but I think it's probably
Also,
tighter than you would think.
also Sonic has way more TV shows. He has way more cartoons.
That's true. And but the other thing, the thing that I took from the question is I was wondering, like, you walk to somebody in the street, you ask them, like, do you know Sonic? And you ask them, do you know Zelda? Or like, what is Sonic or what is Zelda? I feel like it would be more likely that they would know who Sonic is, and they would know who's like with Zelda. Most people don't even know the name of the main character. Like
Yeah,
there's the joke like of people think Link is Zelda or whatever
yeah.
if they've never played the game. So I feel like Sonic as a character, right, and by consequence, the franchise is just generally more iconic for the mainstream audience. And we got things like the Sonic movie, right? That everybody saw and etc. And we haven't gotten anything like that for Zelda yet. So I think Sonic is by far more popular than Zelda. But that doesn't mean that the quality is not a comparison of the quality of the games, right?
That's true.
General recognition and popularity. But
I would
anyway,
say
shout out to
Nintendo has done a better job of stewarding the 35-year history of The Legend of Zelda than Sega ever did for Sonic.
fair enough.
Especially with there was like this awkward period of like Sonic '06 and stuff. So, but yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to 35 years ago. So 35 years ago would bring us to before either of us were born, June of 1986. Nintendo releases Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels in Japan as a sequel to Super Mario Bros. The game was not released in North America, partially because it was deemed too difficult. So my only
Yep.
release from 35 years ago wasn't even about North America. That's kind of sucks, but whatever.
Yeah, and I think the story is that they developed Super Mario Brothers 2 that we got here because they thought that would be more appealing to the American. Um, and I think the Lost Levels, I've played it, but I haven't gone far in it as you'd expect from me. But I think it's generally considered to not be that great of a game. It's just a Mario Brothers 1, but intentionally made very difficult, right?
Like, gruesomely punishing for no reason other than to be punishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really fun to play, and honestly, like, I've yet to actually beat Mario Brothers 1, like, legitimately. Like, if I were to actually
Mhm.
beat the game right now, I probably would have beat it with save states. So, which I don't
Mhm.
really count as actually beating the game, in my opinion. So yeah, I just think that that's kind of like where I'm at with when it comes to like NES games back in the day were just generally speaking hard, and just making it just cranking up the difficulty is just it just feels like it feels almost as if like Nintendo released a ROM hack of their own game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. So, anyways, we'll go ahead and move on to 40 years ago. This is a big, two big releases that happened. One of them is an iconic. Well, actually, I think both of them might even be iconic in their own right. Konami releases Frogger for the arcade. So Frogger is 40 years old. That frog is still trying to cross that street or that river or whatever the hell. So that's kind of funny. And I feel like I've heard of this name before. Like I've heard of this franchise, but apparently Ultima was released for the
Yeah.
PC. It became a successful computer role playing game series.
Yeah, Ultima is a very established old RPG series, and it also led to Ultima Online, which was the first, if not the first, MMOs to ever exist. So that is a very like it's a very influential franchise that set the tone for a lot of the RPGs that we got after that. But I'm in the same boat where I never really played it. I don't even know if I've. It's interesting that I the one story that I have about it is that I was at this GDC once and hanging out with a friend of mine, and neck or something. This friend goes, he's a little bit older. Goes, oh my god, I think that's Richard Garriott right there. And I was like, who? Who are you talking about? And he was like, he's the creator of the Ultima series. And I was like, what series? What again? Right? And I felt so like unknowledgeable about the video game industry at that. It just kind of shows that there or industry is getting to the point where it does have a lot of this history that it's hard to keep track of everything, right? And this franchise specifically, it is a very old franchise and one didn't really I feel like didn't really hit my generation or even our generation as strongly as it would have people that are a little bit older. Um, yeah.
Okay. I actually played. I played a version of Frogger on my TI-83 calculator in high school. Like it was so it was so fun. We were like not even allowed to have games on there anyways, but whatever, we just did. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Temple of Time because 45 years ago and 50 years ago, I didn't find anything of note. Um, so yeah, early video game history is kind of hard to like find, but there were some things surrounding it that just didn't happen in June. So we'll probably hit on it another time. All right. So yeah, ultimately, like I would say, like I don't really necessarily feel like this was like a really good lot overall. Like as far as like June over the years doesn't feel like a as a general nostalgic kind of thing. It doesn't really hit me in the feels as an overall package. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What do we have coming out this June?
We have Ratchet and Clank. That's about it. It's like that's pretty much all I
That's
can
right.
think of.
Yeah. It's a good month to release a big title if you want it to stand out. That
That's
was
true.
just what I was
You pretty much have
getting
like
to.
the all the oxygen in the room goes to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and hit up the news. All right. So for our first news story, it says here that God of War Ragnarok was delayed into next year, which is now confirmed for a release on the PS4. Also, Gran Turismo 7 is also coming to the PS4. So this is an interesting story in the sense that everyone was getting their panties in a bunch whenever people were reading about this. So we'll go ahead and hit it up here. It says here that God of War Ragnarok, which was originally announced for a PlayStation 5 release in 2021, has been delayed into next year and will now also launch on PS4. Confirming the news on Twitter, developer Santa Monica Studio explained that it had to make the decision to push God of War Ragnarok's release back into 2022 in order to maintain the safety and well being of its team. Since the release of the next God of War teaser last year, the full statement reads: "We've also been humbled by the amount of love our community has shown us. We're incredibly grateful to see so many people excited to experience the next chapter of Kratos and Atreus' journey. We've remained focused on delivering a top quality game while maintaining the safety and well being of our team, creative partners, and families. With this in mind, we have made a decision to shift our release window to 2022. In addition to God of War Ragnarok's revised release date, Sony has confirmed that it will be making a cross-gen title, as will eagerly awaited PS5 racing sim Gran Turismo 7, and will be making its way to PlayStation 4 alongside the previously announced PS5 version. So yeah, I think I just sort of want to stop it there.
Hmm.
I am gonna kind of sort of like I don't really how to put this. I am not one of those kind of like yeah like internet fanboys that likes to like poo poo things and stuff like that and just say oh cry like a whiny baby guy. But I will say this: I don't really so much mind that the God of War Ragnarok is being cross gen, especially because you already have a perfectly fine working engine that worked on the PS4, which by the way you probably like just reused assets and stuff, so whatever. But I do have a little bit of umbrage with making Gran Turismo 7, which is really weird because I'm not really big on Gran Turismo anyways. But I do have an issue with Gran Turismo 7 being cross generational because Gran Turismo, by its very nature, is supposed to be a technical showpiece that should be pushing
Mm,
hardware to its limit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
It's
like,
interesting that people are not talking about that one as much. Versus you're right. One almost seems like a bigger deal uh, than God of War.
yeah, plus, not to mention, I think we even said it amongst ourselves, either on air or off air, where I don't think either of us actually believed 2021. So,
No. Yeah. So this is my take, and this is not based on any sort of insider information or anything like that. I don't think this game was ever expected to come out in 2021. I don't think, and I feel like some people are like they're refraining from saying that because it kind of comes across like you're calling Sony a liar.
Yeah.
I don't want to call Sony a liar. I don't want to believe that they're liars, but I can't help it. That's just my gut. You know, like my gut tells me they never believed that this game was a 2021 game. They knew it was going to take longer, and they just set 2021 as a strategy to generate high PS5 because Sony does this type of thing. Like Sony likes to show games that are far, far out so that they can generate hype in the moment for their console. We saw this all the way back with the PS4 around the time that it was getting announced in the first few years. Like with the PS4, every E3 was hype until we realized that we were looking at the same games for like the third year in a row that had not come out yet, right? So the moment here's the thing. If God of War Ragnarok was meant to come out in 2021, we would have seen more by now. You know, it is June of 2021. We would have seen a actual teaser with footage from the game, maybe like at least trailer last year. This year, we would have already gotten some kind of like gameplay look or
We
something like
probably
that.
would have gotten an
So,
official title by now because we don't even. I don't even think that's the
yes,
official title.
yeah, we don't even have an official title yet. So the fact that we got none of these things to me shows that there was never really a plan. Like Sony never maybe there was like a little bit of a hope or something,
Yeah.
but Sony never put the gears in motion to release this game in 2021. Which to me makes it pretty clear that they knew internally that this was not really the case. They only slapped a 2021 year date, like year on it, so that they would get people excited for buying the PS5 now, right? Like on release. And it worked, and they sold a bunch of them. And now they're like, okay, well, let's tell you the truth now. So, like I said, I don't want to call Sony liars. I would be happy to be wrong about this, but from the from what I can glean of the situation, from what I can see of the situation, that seems to be the case for me. Now, when it comes to the PS4, PS5 cross-gen things, I see a lot of people very mad about it. And in
we,
some ways, I
we
empathize.
we believe in generations. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
yeah,
I especially empathize because it's inconsistent, right?
yeah.
So Sony has sold this message, which is not true. It's ultimately not true. Once again, I guess Sony lied to you. Like Sony lied to their fans. Like the fan base wanted to buy this console and wanted to get games that were exclusive for it. Whether that is a like good one or not, that's arguable, and I'll argue against it. But they said they were going to do that, and then
I
they
have a
didn't.
I have
Right?
a conspiracy theory on this one. Like, and let me just take you to an alternate world where there was no such thing as a hardware shortage. If there was such a thing where
Right.
like there were 20 million PS5s out in the wild and it just sold gangbusters out the gate, and you can go walk into a store
Mhm.
and buy a PS5 if you want to, right? Do you think that if that were the case, that they would not just cut off the PS4 support because they know that everyone who wants a PS5 is just your what do you call it? The user base is high enough to warrant an exclusive.
Maybe I said on a tweet about this that I don't think this is necessarily caused by just hardware shortage. I think this might have been there might be multiple reasons that lead to them doing this. That just blaming it on the shortage, I think, might be an oversimplification of the situation. But it could be that in a different universe, with PS5 selling like crazy, that they would want to just make something exclusive, maybe even when they didn't have to, just to push sales even further, right? So I could see maybe Sony wanting to do that. So that is a possibility. I just the way I look at it is, consoles have evolved in a way where they are a lot more like PCs, right? And when you release a game for PC, you have an array of devices that support it. Like you don't release a game that is like, oh, it only works on that PC or that video card. It always has like a range, right? Like you can run this game. Here's the mean spec and here's the max spec, and the game just adapts, right? Like you could be some people get worried that you're developing the game for the min spec, and that it will harm the performance of the game in the highest spec, and that can be possible. It's a development choice, right? But you could alternatively develop for max spec and then spec it down for the min spec, right? So you could have an awesome, beautiful PS5 game, and then you cut some things off and you lower the resolution and you get it to run at a lower frame rate and you get it to run on PS4. I feel like that's probably what they're doing, really. Like I don't see it. They really want to showcase the power of the PS5, and I know what developers are like, especially the developers that work in these kinds of games. Like they really want to use that power and take advantage of it. And I think with the things that we're doing in games nowadays, it's not that hard to say, "Hey, we're gonna turn on this graphical feature for the PS5 version, but we're just gonna have it off for the PS4 version." So that it can run there, right? We're gonna run at 60 FPS on the PS5, but we'll lock it at 30 on the PS4, right? So that's what I think is happening, and I think I think we're probably gonna see more of this.
I think most people just sort of just naturally assume that you are basically buying or you're buying a PS4 remaster. Like you're
Hmm.
developing a PS4 game and then like selling the remastered, the HD remaster or whatever on the PS5 or something. Which I don't know.
Yeah,
It's possible, you know.
it's maybe it's possible, but yeah, I don't know. I guess the way I look at it is I don't think this is affecting I don't think this is negatively affecting the development of games as much as people think it is.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, that's like I said, I don't really too much like. I mean, seeing what like what seeing the Grand God of War 2018 run on PS5 being patched, what it can look like and stuff like that. I don't really care about it that it's cross gen. I guess sort of the same could be true for Gran Turismo if we're talking about if it's being spec'd to the high end first. But
mhm.
just like from like my lizard brain perspective, I feel like I can let God of War slide, and most people aren't, of course. But I'm not so quick to say, oh yeah, do that for Gran Turismo 7. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And like it is with PCs and like it is with mobile and other platforms, at some point the lower spec gets cut down, like so it will happen eventually. Like this I know that it's going further than people expected. Like people probably didn't expect it to still be happening in 2022. But even by 2022 we'll probably have plenty of exclusive games, and the year after that we probably won't be seeing this anymore, I feel like. You know.
okay. All right,
Yeah.
well, that's that, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next story. This comes from Polygon. This is regarding the E3 2021 schedule. It was announced, and all the press conferences that you need to know about, they're all here in this article. You can check it out in the show notes. Dan, I don't necessarily want to read the article. I just sort of want to, gloss over everything. I would say like the biggest thing that we know about right now is finally
Hmm.
Nintendo actually confirmed their schedule, and they're going on their usual Tuesday morning, like they normally do. So it's going to be a Nintendo Direct followed by a Treehouse Live. The Nintendo Direct is going to kick off at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday morning, and it's gonna be about 40 minutes long, is what they said, and it's gonna be talking about mostly games that are releasing in 2021. So, yeah, I don't think there's really
Mostly.
mostly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm pretty sure every single game that they're gonna talk about on this Nintendo Direct is all gonna release before the next year's E3. I pretty reasonable bet, I would say.
Um, I don't think so. I think they're gonna because Nintendo, they also they don't do this as much as PlayStation, but they do occasionally show stuff that's way far out as well. Like think about when they showed Breath of the Wild 2 for the first time, and think about how we haven't gotten that, or how they showed things like Bayonetta 3 or some other games that are just kind of
Metroid Prime 4.
um, Metroid Prime form, right? So
Those are
I
exceptions.
don't.
I think generally speaking, Nintendo tries to do this thing where it's like, oh yeah, this is we're talking about calendar year here, but yeah,
True, but we'll also say like Splatoon 3, right? Like I feel like we've seen that a while ago
yeah,
already and no updates, right? So, but I don't want to talk about that. I was going to say is that I think they're going to show a lot of games that are coming out, like you said, between now and next year's E3. But then they're going to have like a one more thing. And I think the one more thing will be farther out. Now, I don't know if the one more thing is like just the title, or is it a trailer finally for something that we already know about? But I think there will be something, at least one thing that will be farther out. Um, So yeah, this is exciting. We finally actually know what's going to be happening on each day. I you were already anticipating Nintendo to stay at their usual time. I wasn't, and I wasn't because this is just not a usual E3. It's not, the same presenters that we're used to. There's a few different things, and I was kind of expecting that because of that, maybe Nintendo would try to go for a more premiere time slot of some kind. Maybe go in like a Sunday night or something. Um, like a time frame where either Microsoft or Sony would otherwise go. Um, but I just kind of wanted to run through, while we're getting each day, right? So on Saturday, we got a Ubisoft Forward at 3 p.m. These times, 12 p.m. Pacific time, I guess.
Yes.
Um, and then we got a Gearbox Entertainment something as well on Saturday, and then on Sunday, June 13th. Viewers can expect presentations from Microsoft, Square Enix, Warner Brothers, and 24 Entertainment. We already got a time for the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, which will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I think that conference is going to be badass. I'm really excited for that. Um, we'll get a Square Enix one at 12:15 Pacific time. Then on Monday, we got some random stuff happening, some Capcom and Take Two stuff happening throughout the day, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and then Tuesday we got Nintendo and also a Bandai Namco showcase with details still to be announced. On top of that, there's also there's this thing called the Guerrilla Collective. Jeff Keighley is doing something with his Summer Game Fest. I think that one started today, actually. Or, no, I think that one is starting on Thursday next week. Is what I meant. Um, and then there is this
I think
some indie
IGN.
directs.
I think IGN is doing Summer of Gaming as well on Friday, like the Friday before E3 or whatever.
Yeah. So starting on Thursday and then all the way to the next Tuesday. It looks like there will be plenty of content going around. That is E3 adjacent or E3 related.
And then at this article tacks on at the very, very end, like just a whole month after E3, as July 22nd, EA Play Live is happening.
Yeah. So it's not even I disclaimer, I work at EA, but I guess that's almost not even part of the
Yeah.
this E3 that we're talking about. It's just they're doing their own a month later. Um, I wonder though. I want to ask. I want to talk to you about this on air because I don't have yet. Sony, dude, what is Sony doing? What do you think?
So honestly, I'm still holding out hope that Sony is gonna just drop a state of play on Sunday night or Monday night or something just out of nowhere. It's like state of play, boom, you know. I think
Hmm.
it's possible, but now that we had that like 15 or minute of footage with Horizon Forbidden West, I feel like that chances are just diminished and like plummeted because you basically gave up your
Yeah,
biggest card, in my opinion. You know, you already played your
yeah,
hand.
yeah. It feels to me like this year. I don't know. It's almost like Sony's playing a different game. Like they're doing the video, like the game focused state of plays, right? They had a Ratchet and Clank one, and they had a Horizon one. Um, and this God of War story just came out with these announcements, and they keep releasing these interviews with Wired. Um, they're hitting the marketing beats differently. So I wouldn't be surprised, and right now this is my expectation that Sony is completely absent from this E3 week, and they eventually announce their own event, their own state of play or whatever, to happen later in the year, maybe like a month later, like EA is doing, or even later than that, maybe August.
Hmm.
Um, but we'll see.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I guess if they were to do that, then they would have more time to get more footage together as well as just basically take all of the marketing cycle completely to itself. And especially if do it in August, September, you're going to be doing
Hmm.
it just ahead of the holidays and stuff like that. So you'll
Yeah,
get more Q4 sales that way, which was a pretty good marketing strategy, I would say. I would say they would be like a short-term L for like a long-term W, if I would say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that way they get to see everything their competitors are doing and potentially plan based on that, right? React to that later.
Yeah,
But
that is true. All right,
mm,
so we'll go ahead and move on to the next story here, and this comes from Push Square. Uh, the subtitle says "Girl Power." It says on the headline, almost half of PlayStation gamers are women. And there's like a little cool photo here of like I see Ellie, I see the girl from damn what's Gravity Rush, I see
Mm-hmm.
Bayloy or hey, I guess Aloy. I guess I should go by her real name. Let's see. Dang, who else? That's the girl from Last of Us, isn't it? Or dang, I can't remember
It,
her name.
I'm wondering if that's from Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's either,
Oh yeah, it's
yeah, I think
Chloe.
it
Yeah,
might be
that's
the
Chloe. And oh, damn, I forgot her name from Lost Legacy.
Nadine.
Nadine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's from Detroit Become Human. That's damn, I don't remember. I can't.
Tearaway.
Tearaway.
I'll
Yes.
help you. I'll help you.
God
Oh,
of
you got the
War.
God of
Yeah.
War. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Cool.
The only one I don't know is this one though at all. So
I wonder if that's a character from Near Automata or maybe like Bloodborne or something like. It looks like that style. One of those two, but
is this an official photo that was made by PlayStation? Looking at this watermark here on the, it says. Let me look at this. It says celebrating something Women's Day. Interesting. I think it might have been
oh
an
yeah,
official photo by PlayStation or something.
it might be.
It says here console owners among females has increased dramatically since the PS1 days, significantly expanding the audience of Sony's gaming brand. As part of a presentation to investors, the Japanese giant notes that approximately 41% of PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 owners are women, comparing this to just 18% on PS1, and clearly the demographic for consoles is growing. To us, this highlights the importance of a rich, diverse content portfolio. PlayStation Studios has done a brilliant job of diversifying in recent years, including strong female protagonists like Horizon Zero Dawn's Aloy and Uncharted Lost Legacy's Chloe Fraser. But there's still plenty of room for improvement here, especially when you consider this data. It's great to see that more and more people are playing these days, as more users means greater investment and ultimately better games and services for all. Sony notes that the widening demographics in terms of age, gender, and geography all present growth opportunities for the firm. Its tasks as a publisher is to ensure that it always has a broad spectrum of content to appeal to all tastes. That is such good like I like how the underlying issue is like, oh yeah, girl power, but money is like it's kind of like it's almost kind of like a little like
Yeah.
undercutting your own message here, but yeah, money.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense, right? Like the more people are interested in your console, the more money you're gonna make as a consequence as well. That's true. Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a lot to say about this. I just that I would have not anticipated. I see, I understand that there's a lot more women in games right now, and you can see it online, and you can see in all sorts of statistics that come out constantly about how right now it's like more than 50% of gamers are women. But that usually includes like a variety of different types of gaming, and I don't think any type of gaming is superior to the others. Like I'm not one of those people, but you got mobile games, you got PC games, and you got console games, and all that stuff. Um, and I always got the impression, and it's a bit of an anecdotal impression, but that seems to be backed up by previous data, that women were not into consoles as much as they would have been maybe into mobile games, or comparatively, right? Statistically. It seems now that that's changing, and it seems that it's becoming more equal, more half and half, with consoles, and I guess that's good news. It's cool that women are enjoying playing console games now as much as almost as much as men are as well.
Yeah,
So
I'm actually a little shocked. Not shocked, I would say I'm more surprised by the data, like because I almost wouldn't believe it. Because like
mhm.
whenever like you see like those like studies, it's like, oh yeah, half of all gamers are women, and I'm like, mobile gamers, they don't count, like kind of thing. And now it's like it almost kind of feels like we're seeing that really come to fruition. I'm very happy about it, and
Mhm.
I'm all for like female leads and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. It's not that I didn't like what happened with The Last of Us Part Two because of like, oh, girl leads and stuff like that, strong women. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no. You need to get better written characters. Okay, that's what we
yeah.
need.
No,
So
I understand that. I understand that your issues with that specifically have to do with with the main characters. In fact, you were 100% into the game until the halfway point, and that is, you got, your female lead in the game for that whole time, as well as like, a cast of like female secondary characters and etc. So yeah, I understand that.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. We'll go ahead and move on to the next story here. And this is a bit of an older story, and I think we completely forgot or neglected to talk about it. We might have mentioned it passingly on a previous podcast, but we'll go ahead and make it a story of its own. It says here that Valve is making a Switch-like portable gaming PC. So this comes from Ars Technica. We can confirm that some, but not all, of what's in store for the code names Steam Pal. So, video game and hardware studio Valve has been secretly building a Switch like portable PC designed to run a large number of games on the Steam PC platform via Linux, and it could launch supply chain willingly by the end of the year. Multiple sources familiar with the matter have confirmed that the hardware has been in development for some time, and this week, Valve has itself pointed to the device by slipping new hardware related code into the latest version of Steam, the company's popular PC storefront and ecosystem. On Tuesday, Steam DB operator Pavel uh, Dejun, not even going to try that last name, spotted the change in Steam's code, which pointed to a new device named SteamPal. The name is a derivative of a previously discovered code term Neptune, which began appearing in September of last year and came with a Neptune optimized game string. At the time, curious code crawlers thought the discovery referred to some type of controller. Technically, that's true. The Steam Pal, whose name was putting in scarce notes because we do not have confirmation of the device's final name, is an all-in-one PC with gamepad controls and a touchscreen. In other words, it looks and functions like a Nintendo Switch, albeit without the removable Joy-Con controller functionality. So that's cool. Dan, what are your thoughts on this actually potentially being successful? Because it kind of feels like this is going to launch and it's going to be a dud in my book.
I don't know. And here's the interesting thing with the console market is that sometimes you think, well, this company did this and they were successful. What if this other company did the same thing but better? Like, would they be successful as well? And a lot of times the market says no, and so it has everything it seems like it would need to have to be successful. You got, something that will probably have a stronger hardware than the Switch with capability to play even more games than the Switch because it will have access to potentially, we assume, the full, Steam library. Um, and yet, is it going to be successful? I feel like probably not. And I feel like the reason why my answer is probably not is because we already right? Like, I feel like that's what happens a lot in this industry is that when there's already a dominating product that has cornered a piece of the market so strongly that it's very hard to get people away from that product into something else. And that's why it's so difficult to break into the industry and become another one of the big three, right? That's why we've always had the big three, basically. We've never had the big four in the industry, even though a lot of other companies have tried. So you see, all these companies competing for the streaming space, and then maybe one of them will come out successful at the end there, and then now Nintendo has pretty much have no competition in this handheld hybrid space or even handhelds at all right now. And people keep wondering, like, is Sony going to get into this? Is Microsoft going to get into this? Well, it looks like Valve is going to get into this. Is it going to be successful? If I had to bet, I would bet no, or at least I would bet not as successful as the Switch, which I think is a pretty easy bet to make. But we'll see. We'll see what
Well,
happens, right?
like
People,
I feel like whenever it comes to like Steam, they've always have like these like the Steam controllers, the Steam consoles, like all of like the things
yeah.
that happen. We've seen like a history of just launching and then failure and then just going back to just selling games on Steam and stuff like that because that's where they make their money. And I feel like
Hmm.
unless like Steam themselves is making the hardware like from like a first party perspective, because one of the things that they did with the controllers and the consoles is that they let like other manufacturers take the risk, and as a result of like that the lack of like hands-on support, it really kind of didn't really generate that buzz. And I don't know what the what the playbook is here on this one. If it's going to be them, putting their own resources and really trying to like dig deep. Not to mention, like, I'm not even entirely sure if like if PC gamers are even gonna want this. Like, just is there a demand from like your own audience to like, oh yeah, I would love to just take these games with me and just load them up on here, because it kind of
I don't
seems like
know.
people just like to like stream their games off of their PC anyways. So I don't know.
We'll see.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the extra news. We have looks like a total of was it 9 items on the list here. Number one, Crytek has announced that Crysis Remastered Trilogy due out on PC and consoles for the fall of 2021. Number two, Nintendo has won a 2.1 million summary judgment against the owner and operator of a now defunct pirate site ROM Universe. Number three, Peter Fabiano, who oversaw the production of Resident Evil Village, Biohazard, and Resident Evil 3, is leaving Capcom. Number four, the canceled Fallout Van Buren is being remade as a New Vegas mod. Number five, Far Cry 6 is coming out on October 7th, 2021, and allows you to use a CD player playing the Macarena as a
Hey,
weapon. Oh
Macarena.
my god. And fight alongside a cute dog or a crocodile. Number six, Dying Light 2 is now confirmed to come out on December 7th, 2021 to PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and Xbox One, and PC. There we go, Dying Light 2, finally. Number seven, Merle Dandridge, who voiced Marlene in the Last of Us games, has been casted to reprise the role in the HBO series. Oh, nice. Nice. Number eight, CD Projekt has named Gabriel Amatangelo as Cyberpunk's 2077 new game director, following the departure of former director Metus
Good luck with that.
Toma Sikiewicz. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Number nine, and this is added by yours truly here, a VHS copy of let me try that again. Number nine, a VHS copy of an extended cut of the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie with about 20 minutes of unseen footage was found and was digitally converted and released as an archive. Nice. So yeah,
I've yet to watch that Super Mario Brothers movie. I've never seen it. I've seen obviously scenes of it because people share that all the time as memes and stuff. But
I watched it at home as on VHS when I was very little, but I remember only specific scenes because of YouTube. But as a general rule, like even then, as a little child that watches anything, I wasn't very interested either.
yeah, I added it, these release date stories because we keep seeing all these different videos coming out, these presentations focused on these games, and I took some time we can caught up on a lot of them. And I have to say, like Dying Light 2 and Far Cry 6 both look really cool. Dying Light 2 is this game that's been announced a long time ago. We had not seen any updates on it for I think 2 years, and now we finally have a release date for it, and we got a full look at how the game works. It seems very interesting, seems very cool. Far Cry 6, I'm less likely to play just because I've never played a single Far Cry game, and it seems weird to me to just start with 6, which I guess is one of the issues with these numbered franchises sometimes. Um, I don't typically have an issue with every franchise that way, but for some reason with Far Cry, as far as I understand, they peaked with 3, so I just kind of want to play 3 before I play some of the other ones.
Plus, isn't like
But
aren't they all like individual anyways? They have nothing to do with each
they
other.
are. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they are. But the number doesn't help though. Like, I feel like I'd be more likely to want to try it if they just named it like,
Far
Far Cry
Cry
Call.
South America or something like that or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like Far Cry the Macarena. But the scene, I added that in the description myself because it is really funny. I would recommend people watch it, but they talk about how in the game, like, because they're in this guerrilla like revolution situation, they don't have a lot of resources and they have to improvise a lot. They even give it a name in the game, which they call it resolver, which is just saying like to solve problem in Spanish. Um, but and then they show that they somebody like jerry rigs this CD player into a weapon, and for some reason it's just constantly playing Arena using it. So he goes and like he shoots somebody as it's the weapon, like you can see D spinning his like, hey, Macarena. I don't know. It's just really funny.
I
But
wonder how
that's
much
all
they
I
had to
got.
spend to get that license as well. Um,
Oh yeah,
but
I bet it
anyways,
gets old quick as well. By the way, I wonder if it plays all their songs, but I don't know.
I was gonna say that it kind of seems interesting that Far Cry, it makes sense for it to be in October, like a fall game, because it makes sense for that to be like a big like banner like title. But it's kind of interesting in the sense that like Far Cry 6 should have already came out by now.
Yeah, yeah. That
Um,
game got pushed back quite a bit. I wonder. I wonder if it's one of those situations where like maybe it's not just that it was late, but they pushed it back so that they would space it out with other because Ubisoft had Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs Legion, Assassin's Creed, and Immortals Phoenix Rising coming out back to back to back. Maybe they wanted to get more time to breathe, and the game needed more time anyway. So
and that's
I
kind
don't
of
know.
funny is like they were even gonna have like a January, February, March, April game because like January was supposed to be Prince of Persia and stuff like that. They had like all of
Hmm.
these games like lined up for like the early first 4 months of the year, and none of them came out.
You know what? I'm gonna do a bet with you right here, Lewis. Right now, I should keep this for the predictions episode. Maybe I'll bring it back. Last year they had 3 games: October, November, December. Right? So it's Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, and then Immortals. I think they're gonna do the same this year. It'll be 3 games back to back. It will start with Far Cry 6,
October.
and then we're gonna get the Prince of Persia remake, and then we're gonna get one of those other like maybe the Rainbow Six game that keeps getting pushed back as well. I don't remember if that one has a release
No,
date yet.
skull and was it skull and
Skull and
bones?
Bones. There we
Okay,
go.
no,
That's the
but
December game.
didn't they just say that they got like restarted development or something like that or some I don't know.
They reaffirmed. No, I think what the story was is that they reaffirmed that it is still in development, that it is coming out. But there's not any major updates in that. But anyway,
Yeah, I guess I don't really want to talk about any of these news stories. I mean, it's just I don't necessarily care about the Mario Brothers movie. I mean, that's great that lost footage is readily available to the public.
hmm
All right, let's go ahead and move on to check this out. All right, for check this out, Dan, this is gonna be all you here. I think you brought 2 items to the table here. Go for it.
yeah. I just so this first one was actually it's really old if you look at it. This article is from May 11th. I I had this in the doc like 5 episodes ago, and then I threw it at the end of the doc, and I said, "Oh, we'll do this next week," and then I forgot about it, and so I'm finally bringing it in. But it's just like some cute new Pokemon merch that is available right now, and I don't even remember. You would have to read the you'd have to read the article for me to remember, but it was just like, "Oh, this looks cute. I'll throw it on. Check this out." And 4 weeks later, the video if you're watching us on Level One Gaming's YouTube channel. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
are
there we go.
watching it
There's a
on
life-size
yeah.
Pikachu statue.
Yeah, if you're seeing this on the video, you can actually see
Which
all the
that's
pictures and the images and stuff like that. These are some dope ass like little figurines. These are $600 statue. Jesus Christ! Oh my
they're expensive
God,
too. Yeah, it's not. This is not the broke gamers guide segment. This is I'm a baller and I wanna spend it all.
dude! But this
Um,
is like this looks cool though. I'm not gonna lie that this flame like little pillar thing going on. I am
I
digging like
mean,
the look.
listen, you spent this much money on Earthbound or whatever. Like you could have spent it to have a life size Charmander. I think it's a
Yeah.
smarter.
Yeah, it's a Charmander statue, but the Pikachu statue is $870. Jesus.
Yeah. These are available at the Big Bad Toy Store, by the way. So I thought we should probably say that.
But look,
And then the
a little
next
$20 Pokeball insects cage, by the way. So that's nice.
interesting.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
gemstone thingies and a bonsai. It's a bonsai box set for $54 and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool. It
that's not
looks
bad.
It looks like I see a Ho-Oh over here, so I guess we can't.
Hmm.
It's a set of 6, so we only see one of them. But anyways, yeah, that's cool. Some cool Pokemon collectibles. There you go. All right.
And the other thing is that Resident Evil Village is a thing, and we got that Lady Dimitrescu is the way that it's supposed to be pronounced. The tall vampire lady character that a lot of people were bringing over from the time the game was announced. The person, the woman who voice acted her, she's actually being really active. Like she's trying to like ride the little like 15 minutes of fame with the character, and she's been doing a lot of videos where like she plays the character but then saying things that people tell her to say or whatever. And she did a cosplay off the so she did some cosplay stuff off the character, and the cosplay looks pretty good. So that one not as much. I mean, that one is almost more of a like when people do like the Disney bounding thing where it's like oh, it's kind of like it, but it's like a different. It's like it's like not exact. But then there's like the other photos are like pretty. She looks pretty much like the character. So like that one. Um, yeah, just wanted to give that a shout.
Yeah, this looks like this almost looks like a like PS5 still or whatever. Just like
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't and we're getting to that point where like it's hard to tell. Like we're getting to that uncanny valley kind
Uh
of
huh.
situation. So I'm there
Yeah.
for it, man. I can't wait till like we see like a PS5 game that looks like you're like in the real world. I think there was like that apartment game that we're so hyped for as well.
Yes. That was Project Mara, I believe. It's being developed by Ninja Theory for the Series X. Yeah, where they said it's gonna be a whole game set in just this one tiny apartment, but it's gonna be so detailed that it'll basically look photorealistic. That's the promise with it.
All right. So yeah, that's gonna be it for check this out. So we'll go ahead and get onto our impressions. So for impressions, we only have one thing to talk about, and this is something that we literally had to do that thing where we admitted to each other that we like turned in our homework assignment as late as we could. We played a little bit of Ring Fit Adventure earlier today to
Mhm.
talk about it. And I actually didn't play any of the campaign because I played it last year. So I actually went into
Mhm.
like the main menu and played some game modes that I didn't touch before, including the rhythm game section that was patched in between the last time I played it and now.
Oh,
So
interesting. How's that?
it's actually I actually played it only on novice because there's like three difficulties. There's the two difficulties like the easy and normal, and then the hard mode is actually like grayed out, so you actually have to earn it.
Hmm.
But even the novice mode was kind of very like chill and very easy to do. But it actually kind of if you play a lot of it at once, it actually kind of does wear you out. But there are moves that you do in the tutorial, such as squats, that were not part of the novice like courses and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So it's actually like they make you do the easy stuff. So like it's kind of like a rhythm game. Well, it's called rhythm game. It's kind of like Dance Dance Revolution where you have like the moves coming at you, and so you have to like either hold it still or hold it to the right, turn it to the left, squeeze it or pull it, and then match it and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Sometimes you have to do a squat while the rhythm thing is happening, and basically like I did like four of them in a row, like back to back. Cause like I want to hear this song, I want to hear this medley and stuff like that. And it was actually like very easy. Like there was only on my last run through, which was like the Super Mario Odyssey medley, where I actually had a perfect score. So but because I got the hang of it and stuff like that. But it was actually not that
Oh
hard.
wait, so I missed that part of it. Are you playing to Nintendo song?
Oh yeah, the rhythm game, the thing that got patched and stuff like that. You have like the Ring Fit Adventure soundtrack as well as they patched in like a Breath of the Wild medley, a Wii Fit medley, a Mario Odyssey medley, as a Splatoon medley, and so I went straight to those, and I just played it in novice mode. And yeah, it's kind of like to the beat and everything like that. It's very toned down, obviously, and I'd imagine like playing those same song, but like crank it up on the difficulties is it's just gonna make me like work out a sweat kind of thing. But yeah,
That's cool.
it's pretty fun. It's like I actually kind of dig it and stuff like that. It's like I can see how it can be difficult just based off of the novice difficulty.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So yeah, for some reason when you're talking about like rhythm game, and I didn't even really know about that part of the game. And I was thinking, uh, DDR, thinking Guitar Hero, I was thinking Rock Band.
Yeah.
So I was picturing you doing the actions to like an air something, and then when you said the Super Mario theme, I was like, oh wait, it is a Nintendo game after all, so that makes sense. Yeah, so I said I was gonna play it last week, and then I totally forgot about it, and it wasn't until today when I was taking a look at the doc and you had updated a few things and you added it in there that I was like, oh shit, I didn't play that. I should make a point to try to play it before we record, and I played it for a little bit, literally right before we started recording.
Did
So I
you do the
didn't get too
campaign?
far, but yes,
Okay.
I played enough to just kind of get set up. You do these first like stretches to get ready, and then you go into the campaign. There's a little 5 minute cutscene of telling you the story.
The s-
Number one, I find
the Swole Dragon is so awesome. By the way, he's like,
yes, I find it really cool that this game actually has that context to it, like that adventure mode to it that you can go through. Because when you think about We Fit, right, that is a similar first party comparison to this game in the sense that it was a game made for you to work out, and it lacked that, right? Like it was just like it was a set of mini games that you could go and pick. And I think there was a feature in the game where you could have a routine of exercises or whatever. But in this game, you're actually going through an adventure, and I feel like that is so cool and original. And I'm so glad that they thought of that to do that with this game, and I think it's part of why the game is so successful. Because the idea is that you're working out, having fun. You're not necessarily as conscious about the fact that you're working out. You really want to progress. You want to go through these levels and feel like you're getting somewhere and fighting enemies and stuff. And so I did the first two levels in the campaign after the original cutscene, and it feels like a workout. It is a workout. I Some of the moves that you got to do are a little bit hard, especially if you're somebody that is not used to exercising very much or to doing those particular moves. I very much suffered with the squats. The first time that I had to fight an enemy, it's basically like a turn-based RPG where you can use different skills, but each different skill is a different workout that you got to do. And you don't just like do them once and then you call it. It's like no, you gotta if you pick squats, you gotta do like 12 squats, and you gotta the game is actually seemed to be pretty good at telling like making sure that you were actually doing it more or less right.
it's
Like
like you're not
they
going
don't
low
let you
enough. Yeah.
yeah, like they'll tell you like like you got to go lower and you got to hold it and then you got to go up. Like with exercising, as somebody that has tried to exercise in different times in my life and never really stuck with it too long, it's important to sometimes you want to rush it, right? Like sometimes you want to do it fast. The truth is that if you do it fast, it's worse, right? Like if you do, or what I mean, if you do it fast, it's easier, which is why you sometimes want to do it, but it won't work out your muscle as well as you need to. And the game forces you to do things within a certain pace a lot of times. I did one of the skills that I used was like a yoga pose, and that one I had to like go and like hold it for a certain amount of time and then slowly get back up. And it's very creative. Like it's crazy that they were able to track so many different moves literally just using that ring and the two Joy Cons. So that's pretty cool. I have a few complaints though. So
Oh.
complaint number one is that I struggled with putting the strap around my thigh because I have very very thick thighs. I'm a thick man. I'm a thick man. And I was able to do it, but it's pretty much at the edge of like the strap, and it feels tight. So I almost feel like I would have needed the strap to be just a tiny bit longer to work out. And I'm sure people that maybe have a similar body type than me, but maybe weight more, would maybe have an issue with that.
Do you like actually
So
like
just
used it
like
like
if you have really
did you try like stretching it, because like one of the things, it's kind of like a flexible stretchy material. I actually didn't have an
yeah
issue with
yes
it.
yeah, it worked. It ultimately worked out fine. But it to me it felt like he was like that I was overstretching it. But I'm not sure. Maybe it's just how it's supposed to be, and I'm just being a baby about it. But the other thing that I have more of a gripe with is very stupid. But when you start the game, there's different measurements of um, there's something called the imperial measurement system, which is what is used in the U.S. widely, and then there's the metric measurement system, which is used in most other countries. The game could have asked you, do you want to use the metric system or do you want to use the imperial system? But instead, for some odd reason, the game asks you, are you in Canada? I'm not joking. That is the question I got. Are you in Canada? Yes or no? And if you respond yes or no to that question, it will change the measurement system that you use.
From meters to miles or something, like from kilometers to
Yeah,
miles.
exactly.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and
god.
but I got more I got more on this stupid gripe. So like
Okay.
number one, I say no, I'm not in Canada because I'm in the US, but I want the metric system. So then I realized that it's like, oh, okay. So because I'm not in Canada, things I don't want the metric system, which that's a very weird assumption for a game that will be played in a lot of different places. So I want to go and I want to change it to the metric system. The only thing I could do, and I looked through the menus, was, as far as I could tell, to say I am in Canada. But then when I say I am in Canada, it changes miles to kilometers, but it keeps the pounds as pounds, and I wanted kilograms. So just a little gripe there, but I find it very weird that they decided to make that setting that way, as opposed to literally just asking you, do you want to use the metric system? Or asking you, do you want to use kilograms or pounds, or do you want to use kilometers or miles or whatever? So that's my only gripe with the game so far. Excited to play more of it. Feels like a real workout.
Well, as a
And
dumb
I have
American,
been
I have
trying.
no issue with that.
Yes.
uh,
I know it's a me problem, but yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like the imperial system. I
This
like the
game
metric system.
This game has a really interesting way of making me feel like I'm a fat ass and like I can't do anything and stuff like that. It really kicked my ass. Like I think I talked about it last year on the podcast. Where it was like, man, this game kicked my ass. I didn't even go on the adventure mode or whatever, but even then, like I still felt like it was kicking my ass. Like there was this, there's like okay, there's different modes and stuff like that. There's the rhythm game mode. There's an exercise mode where you can just go and do specific workouts for that target specific areas of the body. And there's also a mini game mode where you can play actual like We Fit games and stuff like that. Where you're like going on a
Hmm.
parachute and trying to like navigate and stuff like that and fall down and like there's different things. What's kind of interesting is that there was a workout that made me feel like a little less than because there's a workout where you have to like put the ring behind your back and then you have to like compress the ring as many times as possible in then 20 seconds. And I'm here like just going like just trying to like like as fast as I can and stuff like that. And then it tells you like the number of hits that you're doing and stuff. It's counting up. And what's interesting about that is like I'm trying to hit that S tier. So like if you do like the 20 compresses, you're not even C tier, and like there's like if you hit this
Hmm.
milestone, you're C tier, and then you're B tier, and then you're A minus tier, and then you're A tier, and then A plus. And I'm like I think I made it to A tier. I was like I think I did like 110 like compressions in 20 seconds, and like I don't even know what the number is that I need to hit to get to S tier because I can't see it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, God damn it, And then like I did it again, and my number went down because I was still exhausted from my previous go around. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. It's interesting. There's so many different applications that they were able to find out of it. And also, I want to give a shout out to the experience points system that they gave for the game. They called it gains. So
Hmm.
I like that.
And it's, messing with that ring is a little bit harder than you would expect. Like I found that, pressing it in is not as difficult, at least it wasn't to me, but like pulling it out, the parts where you have to pull it out and hold it like that, that's when I felt the most. And maybe it has to do with like working different muscles, and maybe there are muscles that are weaker for me, but I would definitely recommend you play through the adventure mode because it mixes things up enough to where like I'm a huge fan like just do the same thing over when it comes to working out. I feel the most entertained actually, and I feel the workout less when I'm doing it more like how the adventure mode goes, where you pretty much just jogging in place and then little things are coming up and you gotta like do things as they come up. So yeah, it was a good time. I definitely want to keep trying to play it. Maybe I'll try to play it every week from now on.
Same, same.
Yeah,
All right, well, go ahead, and I believe Dan, it is your turn to take over the show.
What are you buying?
there we go. There's a cool reference to that sound effect in Resident Evil Village, by the way. Because they have their own like that is a very iconic sound effect from Resident Evil 4, and Village has its own like merchant character. He's called the Duke, and whenever you interact with him, he says these different lines, and there's a time where he says like the "What are you buying?" line, with in that way, and then it says, "We know a friend of mine used to say that."
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that on a clip on YouTube. I was like,
yeah,
nice.
so that was kind of cool. All right, let's go through our new releases here. First, just a few updates. No Man's Sky is getting a massive visual overhaul, and I'm going to read an excerpt from this article by Mike Fahey for Kotaku. Taking a brief pause from adding completely game changing mechanics to its epic space adventure, today Hello Games released the Prisms update for No Man's Sky, adding fur to creatures, light refraction to rain, more detail to cave environments, reflective metal to space stations, and much more. Oh, and also you can tame and ride flying pets. Basically, Hello Games has upgraded just about every visual aspect of No Man's Sky and released those upgrades as a free update as they do. Well, nothing is drastically changing. So much is being affected in some way. Rain that makes surfaces wet instead of falling and disappearing is nice. I can't believe I never noticed the lack of any fur on alien creatures before, but that issue is moot now. There are more stars in the sky, updated warp effects, volumetric lights in ships and space stations, and tons more. Hello Games has improved photo mode as well, adding more depth of field and bloom options. So basically, that's it. And if you're playing on PS5 or Series X and S or PC, you can get even better results than if you're playing on different machines. Just lots of good stuff happening on No Man's Sky right now. So if you're into that game, it's probably a good time to go check it out again. Go back to it, and if you're not, maybe that's now is a good time to play it for the first time. Now, we also got something going on Watch Dogs Legion. This was reported by Tom Phillips for Eurogamer. Ubisoft has surprise released the zombie survival mode for Watch Dogs Legion, and it is available to try today on PC. Anyone with a PC copy of Watch Dogs Legion will be able to nab Legion of the Dead via the Ubisoft Connect launcher. The survival themed mode is still in alpha and will come to consoles when it's ready to hit beta. So yeah, just something to check out there if you wanted to fight zombies in Watch Dogs Legion.
This image here looks like it reminds me of what's the game that we played on Steam the other couple
Left
of
4 Dead,
Left 4 Dead. Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks very Left 4 Dead.
maybe that's the audience that they're going for there, right? As far as actual game releases go, let's go through our schedule here. Evergate is coming out on PS5 on June 4th. That seems to be a PS5 only game, at least from the way it was listed over here. So it might be something interesting to look at if you're waiting for
It's
PS5 exclusives.
it's actually been on Xbox Series back in
Oh,
the November launch. So I guess it was a timed like next gen exclusive, but it's on everything.
interesting. I'm surprised I didn't even hear about that. Um, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 is coming out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC on June 4th. The Last Kids on Earth and the Staff of Doom coming out on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on June 4th, as well as The Persistence coming out on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Then Backbone is coming out on PC on June 8th, the same day that Chivalry 2 is coming out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Lewis,
Chivalry.
is it Chivalry,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah.
Chivalry.
I have a hard time with the CH in English because sometimes it's pronounced as chi and sometimes it's pronounced as chi, and I usually get them wrong. Like I used to say archive. People would make fun of me in
Oh yeah,
school
it's
for saying
archive.
archive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Chivalry 2
I
is a
think it's.
multiplayer.
Oh, I was gonna say. I think it's more of like whenever CH starts something, or if it's in the middle of something. There's a difference.
That's probably the rule, so I got to remember that. Chivalry 2 is a multiplayer first person slasher inspired by epic medieval movie battles. Players are thrust into the action of every iconic moment of the era, from clashing swords to sprawling castle sieges and more. I wanted to highlight that one because I remember when Chivalry originally came out, and that a lot of people were into that. I had some friends that were into that. So now the sequel coming out and to on PC and then also on console might be something worthy of checking out.
Also, Dan.
We got Edge of Eternity. Yes.
Also, Dan. Just want to throw that out there. Forget what I said about the rule. I just remembered that character. It starts with a CH. So forget what I
There
said.
we go.
Forget what I said.
I guess it's more complicated than that, right?
Yeah.
It must. It's one of those that you just gotta know. You just gotta
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Ed- Edge of Eternity is coming out on PC on June 8th. The Elder Scrolls Online is coming out on next gen or current gen PS5 and Xbox Series X and S on June 8th as well, alongside a new expansion, The Elder Scrolls Online Gates of Oblivion, coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. That's weird. I wonder if the expansion is coming out on last gen only and not on current gen yet. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis is coming out on Xbox Series X and S on June 9th. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is coming out on PS5 only on June 10th. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is a visually enhanced edition of the critically acclaimed and award-winning Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PlayStation 5. The game also features Final Fantasy VII Remake Episode Intermission, featuring Yuffie as the main character, introducing an exhilarating new story arc and numerous gameplay additions for players to enjoy.
as well as Final Fantasy 7.5 Final Chapter Prologue.
Basically. And then we got Ninja Gaiden Master Collection coming out on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on June 10th. Bliss, anything you want to shout out?
I think that I'm not entirely sure if I'm getting Final Fantasy VII Intergrade because I think I did buy it like on the PS4 when it was like $30 on a digital sale,
Mm-hmm.
which I immediately regretted because they gave it out for free as PS Plus like months later. But they said that the PS Plus members can't get Intergrade. They I have no idea what logistics they had to pull off to make it so that way they know what you have is the PS Plus version or not. But whatever.
They must have given away a different SKU of the game then somehow.
Yeah. But as far as like pick of the week, I guess yeah, Final Fantasy VII. I think I need to play that game. I'm pretty sure like I could just play that game on my PS5, and I'll probably be all the better for it. So yeah, pick of the week has got to be Final Fantasy VII. Then yeah.
All right. So let's move on to our next segment here, Lewis.
All right, I got you.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
It's the Broke Gamers Guide where you get to talk about all the big deals happening in video games that you can get and the games you can get for free or as part of subscriptions and stuff like that. On the Epic Games Store, which we always hit first here, you can get Frostpunk for free right now. It is the first society survival game. As the ruler of the last city on Earth, you have to manage its infrastructure and people to ensure your society's survival. What will you do when pushed to the breaking point? Who will you become in the process? So that game is available right now. It will be free until June 10th, at which point it will be replaced by another mystery game that we don't know about yet.
I gotta say this that I'm a little bit disappointed because usually whenever they say it's a mystery game, it's usually something that's of note or of consequence. And I feel like first off, I've never heard of this game at all. So I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to assume because there are plenty of games out there that are huge games outside of our circles and our bubbles, right? And that we have never heard about. For instance, like, both you and me were not that familiar with Roblox, right? And
Yeah.
that thing apparently is like one of the biggest games of the world right now. So who knows? Maybe it's another one of those.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but who knows, right? Maybe it might be a big PC game. Um, and then I got a Humble Bundle shout out. So Humble Bundle that I miss the simplicity of old school Humble Bundle when it was just like this website that he went to and like, oh, here's the bundle right now, and you can get it and you get all these games and the money goes to charity, and then they'll switch off the bundle every few weeks or whatever. Now they have a lot of things going on. They have their own store and etc. But this caught my attention. They have this Humble Choice. It's a subscription actually, but the way it works is that you subscribe for just a month, you get all the games that are available that month, and you get to keep them for subscription. So it's not a PS Plus or a Pass situation. It's more of a like really you're just kind of buying a bundle anyway. And the subscription this month has Civilization 6 Platinum Edition, Secret Neighbor, Stubbs the Zombie, and more, and you can get it for $12. So just getting Civ 6 Platinum Edition alone for $12, that is a pretty big deal on its own. I surprisingly do not own that game yet, even though I should. The only reason why I haven't bought it is because I just tell myself like I probably won't even have time to play it. It is quite the time consuming game. It's one of those one more turn games that you sit down and play. Let me play some Civ, and then you're just there for 8 hours. And that just doesn't really fit in my lifestyle anymore. So that's why I haven't gotten it. But I'm very tempted right now because I've watched sales for this game and it's never been this cheap.
Hmm.
And for $12, not only it's like the cheapest it's been, you get like a lot of DLC, and then you also get all these other games with it, like Worms Rumble and Going Under and Stubbs the Zombie and all this other stuff.
Which,
So
by the
seems like
way, going under, I actually reviewed this game for Level One Gaming. I gave it a score, so I think it
oh,
was like a
what did you?
seven. I want to just say off the
Okay,
top of my head, it might have been a seven, but I could be
cool,
wrong.
cool beans. And then the one other thing I want to shout out here today is that we got a lot of PlayStation deals happening right now. There's a days of fuck, what is it called?
Uh,
Uh,
What they call it, days of play or state of
there we
days of
go.
play.
Days of play sale. But then on top of that, besides all the games that you can go check out on sale, there's a lot of the games that have been on sale before. So it's why I don't think it's worth mentioning. They got the PS Plus membership is off right now. You can get $44 for a year, which is a pretty common deal. And PS Now is also has the same discount. Basically, it's $45 a year. PS Now, and they have been adding a lot of interesting stuff to PS Now. So could be worth it, if you're not an Xbox owner and you want to have a Game Pass. PS Now is not as bad as people make it seem, I feel like.
Yeah, but
So
PS
yeah.
Now is definitely it's no Xbox Game Pass, but it could have been, but it
Yeah,
isn't. Yeah.
exactly. It could have been. Right. And that's it. That's it for me, Lewis.
All right. Well, that's some good stuff there. We'll go ahead and end it there. It's really weird to be ending the show. It just feels very awkward. I don't know why. I feel like it isn't, with the show being as out of order as it was with game impressions happening so late, it just seems like we just getting started. I don't know why, but whatever. Yeah. It's time.
The idea when we got to game impressions, it kind of threw me off. I was like, "Oh shit, we haven't done that yet. We're gonna go late." Like that's how I felt when we got there because it totally messed up my timeline in my head. But the fact that we're not doing topic of the show or sharing the love today, it was still we're able to end it on time. But I agree with you. It feels like we're not at the end of the show yet, and I wonder if that's a good thing, Lewis, because when I threw game impressions, I didn't intend on it staying there. I feel like it's only halfway through the show today for a mistake. Actually, like I think that was accidental today specifically.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like it kind of works to maintain our energy level longer for some
Yeah.
reason
Especially because we
than when
started
it's
off
earlier in the show.
with Temple of Time and everything. But yeah, so it
Yeah.
is really weird how it feels like we're missing segments, so it just doesn't feel complete. But whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can reach the podcast at Ready Play Network or ReadyPlayNetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88 and Dan.
At Dan Lima.
And don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, and tell your friends about the show and all that good stuff. See you next time.